In exercise 404, as the title says, we're going to look at home loan or loan repayment tables. Home loans are probably the most common sort of question you'll get. With a home loan, again, there's many variables: the amount borrowed, the rate, the time, the payment that is being made on a regular basis. And because of that, the calculation is very complicated, and you're not required to be able to complete that calculation. And to help you, information is given. So the tables look something like that, but again, you have to be prepared to realise that every table could be different. Let's have a look at this particular one. This first column is telling us about a loan, the amount of the loan. So a $5,000 loan through to a $200,000 loan. Along the row here, we can see paying off the loan over a period of 1 year through to 10 years. And these values in here tell us the amount it would take or amount to be paid in order to have the loan paid for in 1 year, 2 years, etc. Banks and lending institutions usually have an online calculator. And you can have a look and play with one of these if you like, and all you would need to do is Google home loans and or home loan online repayment tables, and I'm sure you'll find a link there. Let's have a look at this example. This table gives the monthly repayments for a reducing balance loan of $1,000 for various terms and interest rates. The terms mean how often you're going to pay, the length of time you want to have to be able to complete the payments of the loan. They're the terms of the loan. Please stop the video at any time and note these things down. This is what you need to be writing in your summary and key points. So, like I said, it's important always, and I've said before, it's important to read the information about the table. These are monthly repayments, so we don't have a lot of scope in this. With this particular table, we can't vary how often the payment is made. This table will only be useful if you're looking at repaying the loan on a monthly basis. The amount that it's set for is $1,000. Well, we could vary that, I guess. If we had 10,000, we could multiply these values by 10. We've got some fairly restrictive interest rates also, so 4.5% per annum. So this is definitely a yearly rate. And again, the terms, the time over which the loan's going to be paid off is either 5, 10 through to 30 years. Now, remember we said that these amounts in here represent the monthly repayment required to pay a loan of $1,000. So what does this $18.64 actually represent? It's what I can interpret from this table is, for me to pay off a loan of $1,000 over 5 years, where the interest rate is 4.5% per year, I need to pay $18.64 each month. And remember, it's going over 5 years. You can pick any other value. Let's say this, oh no, let's have a look at the example. The Turners borrowed $570,000, so we know that whatever value we get in the table will need to be multiplied by 570. 5% per annum reducible interest, so we're going along here, this row, for 20 years. So the key number from the table that we want is this $6.60. What does that $6.60 tell us? It tells us the amount required to pay off a loan of $1,000 at 5% per annum over 20 years. Okay, part A says find the monthly repayment. So monthly repayment is our $6.60, 5%, 20 years, $6.60. We need to multiply that by 570 because the loan is 570,000, not 1,000. Then we'll go to our calculator. Oops. And you can see there, simply doing 6.60 times 570 is 3762. Oops. So what we can see is that the monthly repayment needs to be 3762 in order to get this loan paid for. The total amount repaid, we don't have a formula for that. This is just a think. Total paid. Let's have a think about it. In most of these questions, please remember what's calculated here will probably be used here, or what's calculated here may be used here, and so on. If we think about what we've just worked out the monthly repayment. So in our total pay, this is the amount for 1 month. Now what do you know? There are 12 months in a year. That now becomes the amount for 1 year, and they're paying off this loan over 20 years, and that becomes the calculation for the total amount paid. As you can see there, when we do that calculation, we get 902,880. 902,880. Now let's have a think about that. They pay back a total of 902,000. 902. That's a lot more than what they borrowed, isn't it? Why do you pay back a lot more than what you borrow? Because you must pay interest. There's such a big difference between 570,000 and 902. And again, the reason is because they had a very generous amount of time, 20 years, before they had to ensure the loan was totally repaid. C asks for the interest, and again, no formula here, just using your understanding. And remember what I said, almost all of these questions with parts, the answer that you'll get to a particular part will be used later in the question. And that's exactly what's happening. What did we just work out here? We worked out the total to be repaid, that will be repaid. Interest is the difference between what you pay and what you borrowed. So the 570. So we were just looking at what a big difference there was between those two, and now we can actually work it out, use our calculator. And so you can see there that they've paid a total of $332. 880 332. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that is quite a significant amount, isn't it? It's not quite double what was what was borrowed, but yeah, it's still very significant amount of interest. Part D asks for how much more interest would they pay if the loan was over 25. So now we're moving over to 25 years at 5%. So we're interested in this number. So the monthly repayment would be 585. We need to multiply that now by 12, and it's going over 25 years. And we must multiply, of course that was for 1,000, our 570, because it's $570,000 loan. And there you can see that over 25 years, they end up paying over $1 million. So here, over 20 years, paid $902,000. Over 25 years, over $1 million. Now, the question asks for the how much more interest. Now, we've got to get our interest on this loan now. So it's a bit over $1 million. Subtract the amount of the loan, $430,000. So we're comparing now this $430,000 to this interest, $332,000. And you can see I've done the subtraction. For the luxury of going another 5 years, it has cost $94,000, $470,000. Why do people do it? I guess it might depend on how much they can afford to pay monthly. If you can afford to pay monthly $3,762, well, good. It's going to save you in the long run $94,000.